Chapter 5: Limits Parents Who Protect with Authority. Limits are not punishment, they are protection, and authority is not shouting, it is direction. When we understand this, fatherhood changes its shape. I'm a military man used to command, obedience, chain of responsibility, but it was at home, on the day-to-day battlefield with my children, that I learned what it means to exercise authority with love and wisdom. I always say, what is missing in many homes today is not love, it is leadership with limits. There are fathers who love but don't know how to take a stand. There are mothers who care but cannot say no. There are children who grow up at home but without any emotional, moral, or spiritual fence. And a child without limits is like a river without a bank. It becomes a flood and destroys everything around it. 1. Limits are protective fences. When I took my children to learn to ride a bike, the first thing I did was choose the right place. No car, no pothole, no risk. A place with limits. This is love. That's protecting. Boundaries are like the fences we place on precious land. It's not to arrest, it's to preserve the value. When God gave the 10 Commandments to the people, He was not trying to control, He was showing the way to life. If you want your child to grow up safe, start by teaching them where they can step and where they can't. Saying no is an act of love. Establishing schedules, demanding respect, defining responsibilities is not being rigid, it is being a father. And let me tell you, the outside world will not feel sorry for your son. If he doesn't learn limits at home, he will be beaten outside to learn. And when that happens, many parents cry, too late. 2. Authority is firmness, not roughness. Being a coaching father doesn't mean being an executioner, but it also doesn't mean being a banana. I've seen a lot of fathers who are afraid of losing their son's love and end up being held hostage by the boy himself. This is role reversal. Biblical authority is like the shepherd's rod. It guides and protects. Jesus himself said that whoever loves the Father keeps his commandments. Obedience is proof of love, and this starts in the father and son relationship. Here at home, since they were little, my children learned that yes is yes and no is no. No negotiating values. It's not in the scream, but in the constancy. It's not in punishment, it's in instruction. When a father positions himself wisely, his son respects it. And more than that, he feels protected. My youngest son once wanted a cell phone. All my colleagues had it. He argued, insisted, almost cried. I listened, I considered, but I said, it's not time yet. Having a cell phone is a responsibility that you haven't demonstrated yet. The time will come. Trust your father. 3. Limits train character. A child trained with limits develops character. He learns to wait, to listen no, to obey orders, to take responsibility. This will all prepare you for adult life. The problem is that many parents want to give everything they didn't have and end up raising weak, spoiled, emotionally fragile children. I always say, the father who gives everything without training anything is raising a dependent, not a leader. Character is formed in discipline. When a child breaks a rule and there are clear consequences, he understands that life has borders. And this is not trauma, it is construction. Trauma is when the father is absent, permissive, or aggressive. Here at home, one of the rules has always been disrespect, lose privileges, but there has also always been space to talk, restore, and follow, discipline with dialogue, firmness with hug, correction with explanation. 4. The Bible is the manual of limits. There are many experts today who want to teach about children, but disregard the Word of God. And let me be blunt, the Bible is the best training manual a parent can have. Proverbs is full of truths about discipline. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him quickly disciplines him. Proverbs 13:24. This isn't about hitting, this is about not being silent. It's about guiding, teaching, guiding. It's about not leaving the child to his own heart, because the Bible also says that the heart of man is deceitful. The world teaches, let the child do what he wants, he will learn on his own. Lie, that's a recipe for chaos. The kingdom teaches, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. 5. The world needs children trained with limits. The biggest crisis of our generation is not economic, it is leadership. There is a lack of men and women emotionally prepared to face life. And do you know where this preparation begins? In the limit that parents set inside the house. Children trained with limits grow up with a firm foundation. They learn that life has time, that not everything can be achieved right away, that respect is the basis of relationships, that obedience has a reward. What's more, children like this will be better parents, more responsible professionals, and more mature husbands and wives. What you plant today as a limit will blossom tomorrow as maturity. Practical task: fences of love and authority. This week, you will position yourself in a practical and powerful way. Simple but transformative task. Sit with your child Ren and explain that you love him so much that you will reinforce the boundaries of the house. Write a contract of honor together. 3 basic rules of the house that cannot be broken, e.g., bedtime, respect in words, tasks for the day. Explain the fair consequence for every breach, not as punishment, but as responsibility. Sign together. Stick this contract on the refrigerator or in your room. Make it a visual commitment. At the end of the week, talk about what it was like, what worked, what needs to be adjusted, and if there was disrespect, apply the consequence with love and firmness. After you do this task, send me feedback on Instagram. Wagner Ferraz Official, tell me how it was. Post a photo of the honor contract, without exposing the child if you prefer. I want to see parents taking a stand and training strong children. Parents who truly love are not afraid to set limits. The absence of authority is not a sign of freedom, it is the path to perdition. Train your child with love, but with direction. Teach that limits are not prison, they are protection. And remember, you are the greatest authority in your child's life and the greatest reference for how God also sets limits to protect us and make us grow. Authority is the language of heaven one. Limits are ways of saying, I love you. Limit is love in the form of a fence. When I took my children cycling, I chose a safe place. Why? Because I love, because I care, because I am responsible, and that's exactly what the limit does. It shows that there is someone caring, watching over, protecting. When God gave commandments to Israel, he was not saying, I want to control you. He was saying, I want to preserve you. The law was not a prison, it was a spiritual bodyguard. At home, limits are not a cold rule, they are an expression of warm love. Saying no is biblical. Reinforcing schedule is necessary. Teaching obedience is spiritual. The father who does not practice limits at home gives his son out into the world, and the world, my brother, does not forgive. 2. Authority is the language of heaven. Weak parents train spoiled children. Absent parents train needy children. But authoritative parents train prepared children. God is Father, but he is also Lord. And the Lord governs, directs, instructs. Our authority as parents does not come from our physical strength or our tone of voice. It comes from our spiritual positioning. When I pray with my children, when I teach the word, when I correct with firmness and love, I am occupying my place of authority. Not authoritarian authority, but spiritual authority. Authority is not shouting, it is keeping your word. It's saying no with love and maintaining the no even when the child frowns, cries, or tries to negotiate. Children don't need cool parents, they need leading parents, they need parent coaches. The too nice father today becomes the disrespectful father tomorrow. But the father who takes a firm and consistent stance will be respected throughout his life. Authority is not about control, it is about driving. Like the shepherd's staff, it's not to beat the sheep, it's to guide them on the right path. The greatest proof of authority is not the strength of the voice, but the constancy of the conduct. The son needs to look at his father and see firmness. You need to know that the rules don't change according to the mood, that today's no won't turn into yes tomorrow just because he insisted. Authority is stability, and stability generates trust. 3. Incoherence destroys the limit. I learned that the biggest enemy of authority at home is not the child's rebellion, it is the parent's inconsistency. A father who says one thing and does another loses respect. There is no point in telling your child to pray and never praying with him. There is no point in ordering to respect your mother and treating your wife rudely. Authority is not just spoken, it is lived. Authority is not imposed, it is conquered. The Bible says that Jesus taught as one who has authority. Do you know why? Because he lived what he preached. His authority was consistent. And that's what children need to see in us, consistency. I remember a serious conversation I had with my middle son. He confronted me. Dad, you tell us not to yell, but today you yelled at mom. At the time, my pride wanted to justify it, but the Holy Spirit spoke to me, "Be an example, be humble." I looked him in the eye and said, "You're right. Father made a mistake, and he's going to ask for forgiveness." I went there, asked my wife for forgiveness in front of my children. Do you know what happened? My authority increased because they saw that I'm not perfect, but I'm true. 4. Authority with dialogue is invincible. The authority does not cancel the dialogue. On the contrary, the authority that listens is even more powerful. I've always taught my children that they have a voice, but they don't have a vote. They can talk, explain, ask, but it's the father and mother who decide. Because here at home, whoever is in charge is the one who loves the most and has the most baggage. This stance teaches that authority is not authoritarianism, it is protection, and dialogue creates connection. How many times have I called my children to talk after a discipline? And there, calmly, I explained the reason for the correction. They cried, they understood, they hugged me. This creates relationships. This builds trust. Son does not respect those who impose fear. Son respects those who generate admiration. Practical task: position your authority. Now is your time to put this principle into practice. Let's get out of the theory. Assignment of the week: declaration of spiritual authority. Set aside 10 minutes with your children. No distractions. Eye to eye. Explain with love that, starting today, you will take your place as the spiritual leader of the house. Say a prayer with them declaring, "Lord, I step into my position of authority in love to protect and train my children in your way." Write down on paper 3 attitudes that you will change from now on as a father, e.g., not shouting, praying together, keeping your word. Read this paper with your children and say, "Help Dad, help me get better." End with a hug and a promise. I'm here to train you to be strong, not to please you. I want to see you assuming your authority the right way. Send me a message on Instagram, audio, or even a photo with your commitment paper. It will be beautiful to see this transformation. Parents with authority create children with structure. Parents who position themselves spiritually do not need to be threatening, shouting, or punishing all the time, because when the son feels that the father is in the right position, he feels safe to obey. Remember, authority is the language of heaven. It is how God speaks to his children, and that's how you should talk to yours. Discipline is a demonstration of love. When I was younger and still learning how to be a father, I had a huge fear of making mistakes with my children. As a soldier, I was already trained to maintain order and discipline, but being a father has put me on another battlefield. In this field, it is not enough to have authority, you need to have love. And more than that, you need to know how to show this love in the right way. And here's the truth: discipline is one of the most powerful ways to show love. Yes, love is not just kisses, treats, and gifts. Love is limit. Love is correction. Love is saying no when the whole world says yes. Love is protecting your child's future, even if it costs him a momentary smile now. The Bible leaves no doubt. Hebrews 12:6 says, "For the Lord chasteneth whom he loveth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." Can you see the depth of this? God, the perfect Father, corrects. He doesn't touch his head. He doesn't pretend he didn't see it. He doesn't exchange discipline for superficial affection. He loves too much to leave us trapped in our rebellion. And if God does it this way, why would we, as parents, do it differently? Training children without discipline is releasing lions without a cage. There are fathers who think that love means protecting their child from any suffering. But this is a dangerous mistake. A child without limits does not become a strong man, become a spoiled adult. A child without correction does not mature. He becomes someone who expects the world to treat him with mercy even when he makes a bad mistake. If you love your child, train him with discipline. Show that every choice has a consequence. Show that making mistakes doesn't make you rejected, but it also doesn't free you from responsibility. Do you know what the problem is in many homes today? Parents are trading correction for relief. They prefer to avoid their child crying today and end up promoting the whole family's crying in the future. The Bible is clear in Proverbs 13:24. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him quickly disciplines him. In other words, the father who refuses to correct is not being good. He is being negligent. Correcting is not punishing. It is teaching with love. Biblical discipline is not about violence or humiliation, it has to do with targeting. God never corrects us out of revenge, He corrects with purpose. And that's how we should do it with our children. Discipline without love breeds fear. Love without discipline breeds weakness. But discipline with love generates character. When you discipline calmly, clearly, and consistently, your child understands that someone is in control. This creates security. He may be angry at the time, but deep down, he will feel loved and protected. It's like a seatbelt in a car. No child likes it, but it saves lives. This is what discipline is like. Uncomfortable for a moment, but essential to save the future. Being firm today is investing in tomorrow's character. If you've ever seen a well-built building with a firm foundation, you know that underneath there's a lot of concrete, structure, iron. It may be beautiful on the outside, but it is the foundation that supports everything. It's the same thing in children's lives. Discipline is that foundation. It is not visible in the short term, but it is what will keep your child standing when the wind of life hits. And look, it's going to hit. Life will say no to him. School will frustrate him. A relationship can end. A job may not come. And if he hasn't learned to deal with frustration, correction, and consequences at home, he will fall outside. Discipline is the laboratory of life within the home. It's the safe place where he can make mistakes, learn, adjust, and grow. Practical task. The discipline that teaches now is your time kids coach. Task of the week. Discipline dialogue. Choose a moment of peace in your home. No tension, no recent correction. Sit down with your children and explain that discipline is a form of love. Read Hebrews 12-6 with them. Ask, when was the last time your parent corrected you? What did you learn from that? Write down the answers. Show that you are listening. Now share with them a time when God corrected you and how it helped you. Finish by saying, son, I love you too much to let you grow without limits. My mission is to train you for the best future that God has. Take a photo of this family moment or write a short text about what happened. Post on Instagram and tag me, a Wagner Ferraz official. I want to closely follow this movement of parents who are taking on the mission with courage and love. Parents who correct with love, reap children with character. Make no mistake, what you tolerate today, you will dominate tomorrow. But what you correct with love today will be what honors you in the future. Be firm, be clear, be a father, because discipline is the language of true love. Clear rules. Generate safe children. If there's one thing I learned in military life and took home, it was the importance of clarity. No troops advance without clear orders. No soldier wins a war without knowing exactly what he can and cannot do. And that's not authoritarianism, it's protection. This is what makes a safe environment. And with children, my brother, it's exactly the same thing. Son without clear rules, lives unsafe. A son who doesn't know what he can and can't do always tests the limits. And when boundaries change depending on a parent's mood, the house becomes an emotional minefield. Here at home, we chose the path of clarity with love. The rules are simple, they are visible, and most importantly, they are explained with purpose. It's not because I said so, it's because I love you and want the best for you. It's amazing how much confidence increases when children know what to expect. They don't walk on eggshells or try to manipulate situations. They know there is a limit. You know, it has consequences. And more than that, they know that they have a father present who does not fail in his mission. A house with a clear rule doesn't need to shout. I see a lot of frustrated parents yelling at their children, losing control, saying things like, you just give me trouble. I've already said it 1,000 times. I can't take it anymore. Do you know what this reveals? That the problem, not the rebellious son, and the father who never stopped to teach calmly. There is a father who demands obedience from a son who has never been trained. He wants to harvest without sowing. He wants respect without presence. He wants obedience without instruction. In our house, we learned one thing. You don't train your child to scream. You train with constancy, with love, and by example. Authority is not about the volume of the voice. It's about strength of character. Authority is achieved through presence, not by absence. Rules don't suffocate, they protect. There are fathers who think they will lose their child's love if they set rules. And what happens? It creates an environment without limits where the child thinks he is the center of the universe. The truth is that son needs limits as much as he needs food. The limit feeds the child's soul safely. It is what defines where freedom begins and ends. Do you want to know if your child is really trained? See how he behaves outside the house, at school, at church, at grandparents' house. The child who learns to respect the rules of the house learns to respect the rules of life, because life also has limits. There's a law, it has consequences. And if he doesn't learn this from you, he will learn from the world, and the world teaches mercilessly. Parents need to speak the same language. Another very important point: alignment between father and mother. There is no point in the father prohibiting it and the mother allowing it in secret. There's no point in the mother giving punishment and the father moving along because he felt sorry. Here at home, my wife and I learn to speak the same language. When one corrects, the other supports. When one sets a rule, the other reinforces it. This shows the child that the parents are in alliance, and this strengthens the environment. If you are in a marriage where there is conflict at this point, don't let it go. Chat, pray together, set the rules as a couple, as spiritual leaders in the home. Son doesn't need two bosses at war, he needs a couple in unity. Our house rules to help you. I'm going to explain a little here how it works in my house. There are things that can serve as inspiration for you to adapt to your reality. Here, for example, we have rules like lies have consequences. Using a cell phone without permission loses its use for a while. Did you speak disrespectfully? Ask for forgiveness and do it again with honor. He fulfilled his responsibility. He has his reward. Disrespected authority, parents, leaders, teachers. Let's talk and apply the consequence. All of this is clear. It's not invented on the spot. It is taught calmly, firmly, with purpose. And mainly we, the parents, experience it first. Son observes more than he listens. If the rule is to respect, but the father shouts and swears, the rule falls. If the rule is not to lie, but the mother lies to the boss, the rule collapses. You train your children more by what you live than by what you say. Bible, the Child Trainer's Manual. God, as Father, has set limits since Eden. He said, "You shall freely eat from every tree, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat." Genesis 2:16-15. This is a clear rule, freedom with limits. And yet the man chose to break. But God, being fair, applied the consequence with love. He didn't abandon it, but he also didn't annul the rule. Our paternity model is there. Freedom, limits, consequences, and love. If you push too hard, you suffocate. If you let go too much, you lose. But with balance, he trains strong children. Practical task, the constitution of the house. Now it's time to train in practice. Task of the week, family constitution meeting. Choose a quiet day with your family. Gather everyone in the room without cell phones, without distractions. Write down the 5 main home rules together. Be clear, objective, and fair. Calmly explain the reason for each rule and what the consequence will be if it is broken. Sign a family agreement together and place it in a visible place in the house. Agree with your wife to always reinforce these rules together. Set an example. Be the first to comply. Take a photo of this constitution of the house and post it on Instagram and tag me, Wagner Ferraz Official. I want to see how you are applying these principles in your home. Clear rules are bridges to maturity. Don't be afraid to be firm. Be a father or a mother with the courage to love with direction, because children trained in clarity grow up in security, and emotional security is the greatest gift you can give. Practical task, the house code. Now is the time to stop everything and set aside new time at home. This week, you will do something that will impact your children's hearts and align your home environment with the sky. Create the house code. It's not a poster to decorate the wall. It is a pact of honor signed between parents and children with the presence of God as a witness. How to do it? Set aside sacred time. Choose a time when everyone is at home without rushing. Turn off TV, cell phone, everything. Create a special atmosphere. You can even light a candle, play instrumental music in the background. Take one large sheet or cardboard and write at the top in neat letters, family, your last name, our code of honor. With the Bible open, pray with your children for wisdom and unity. Then write together 5 non-negotiable principles from home. For example, here we tell the truth even if it hurts. Nobody yells at anyone here. Here we obey without murmuring. Here faith comes before fear. Here the responsibility lies with everyone. Next to each principle, write together the loving and fair consequence if it is broken, something that corrects without humiliating. Each family member will sign with their best handwriting, like someone signing a pact. After, put this code in a visible place of the house, fridge, hallway, living room. In the end, the father or mother must declare something like, "From this day forward, this is the code that will protect our family. Here we train strong children with love and limits." This will generate an environment of honor so strong that your children will remember this moment for the rest of their lives. Take a photo of your house code, post it on Instagram, and tag me there. A Wagner Ferraz official. I want to see your home setting an example of leadership, love, and healthy boundaries. Remember, you are not called to be a cool father. You are called to be a present and intentional father. Training strong children takes work, but it bears eternal fruit, and heaven is counting on you. Let's go together.